Have you ever been so alone that even your own family made your pain feel like an inconvenience? That night at 2 a.m., sitting in a cold hospital pumping room, I realized I wasn't just fighting for my son's life, I was fighting for mine too. The air smelled of antiseptic and stale coffee, and the only sound was the mechanical hum of the pump. My name is Lauren, I'm 34, and one floor below me, my son Leo was fighting for his life in the NICU. He had arrived at just 27 weeks, a fragile little bird weighing barely 2 pounds and 1 ounce. I was exhausted, terrified, and desperate for comfort. My hands trembled as I texted our family group chat. Leo is having a hard night. Please just pray for him. Minutes later, my phone buzzed. I expected warmth. Instead, I saw a photo, my Aunt Rebecca smiling in a ball gown, posing on a stage with the caption, "So proud to represent our family at the Children's Hospital Foundation Gala. Giving back." That picture wasn't just a tone-deaf reply, it was a message. It was my entire life with them summarized in one perfect, polished frame. Because in my family, appearances weren't just everything, they were the only thing. We weren't just a family, we were an institution. An old-money Boston name obsessed with pedigree, philanthropy, and image. The Family Foundation's mahogany-paneled office was where every story, every act, every reputation was managed, and its unofficial CEO was my Aunt Rebecca. After my mother passed away, Rebecca took control. She wasn't warm, but she was efficient. She managed our lives the way a hawk manages prey. Anything that didn't fit the family's narrative of perfect, charitable, and strong was quietly erased or disguised as an act of resilience. My husband Ryan, a respected architect, fit right in, handsome, successful, approved. But my career as a grant writer for small non-profits, those dealing with addiction, homelessness, and domestic abuse, was an embarrassment. Lauren is the sensitive one, Rebecca would say at dinners, which was her polite way of saying unstable and disappointing. My greatest failure, though, wasn't my job, it was my struggle to provide the next heir. Ryan and I tried for years. We suffered 2 miscarriages, and each time the family's reaction was cold, clinical, and silent. My grief was treated as an inconvenience, a flaw that needed to be hidden. When I finally announced I was pregnant with Leo, Rebecca's response was a thin, tight smile. "Well, let's just hope you can be calm this time, dear, for the baby's sake." And so, when Leo arrived early fighting for his life, I knew this was the ultimate embarrassment. It was messy, emotional, and real, everything our family despised. That's why the silence that followed his birth was deafening. I sent updates to the group chat. Leo gained 20 grams today, he's off the ventilator, and all I got back were thumbs-up emojis or nothing at all. My father Richard didn't visit, my stepmother Brenda didn't call. Ryan tried to be my rock, but he had to go back to work to keep our insurance. At night when he came, we'd sit together by Leo's incubator, 2 ghosts in the glow of hospital lights. The only people who truly saw me were strangers, the other NICU moms, women with tired eyes and hopeful hearts living the same nightmare. We formed a tiny sisterhood, a circle of support built in that sterile, fluorescent world. We celebrated every small victory and mourned every loss together. These women became my real family. One afternoon, while scrolling social media during a short break, I saw a photo that hit me like a punch to the gut. My father, Brenda, and Rebecca were at a Sunday polo match, smiling, glasses raised, laughing. "Wonderful family day," the caption read. Their lives were going on untouched, as if my son's struggle didn't exist. I stopped sending updates. I stopped hopping. The question that haunted me was, will my son survive? It was, why? Why do they hate me so much? I didn't know then that the cruelty had only just begun. On the 5th week, Leo was stable, but in the NICU, stable just means the crisis isn't happening right now. I was in the hospital cafeteria, eyes burning from sleepless nights, stirring cold coffee, trying to remember what normal even felt like. That's when my phone exploded, 73 missed calls, dozens of texts, all from my brother Ethan. My heart slammed against my ribs. Something terrible had happened. His last message read, "Lauren, answer, it's Aunt Sharon. She's at Mass General, it's bad." Aunt Sharon, my mom's younger sister, the kind, quiet one Rebecca always sidelined. I called him, shaking. He answered immediately, his voice frantic. "She had a massive stroke, Lauren, everyone, at Mass General. Dad, Brenda, Rebecca. And Dad is asking why you aren't here. He's hurt that you didn't come." I laughed, bitter and hollow. He's hurt that I'm not there. I've been here alone for 5 weeks, Ethan. No one came, not Dad, not Rebecca, not anyone, not a single visit." The line went silent. When Ethan spoke again, his tone had shifted from confusion to something sharper. "That can't be right," he said. Rebecca told us she's been visiting you. She said she's been sitting with Leo so you could rest. She told everyone you wanted privacy, that the doctors advised no visitors because you were overwhelmed. My blood ran cold. The next day, Ethan came to the NICU. He saw the truth with his own eyes, the tiny baby, the machines, the exhaustion. "Oh, Lauren," he whispered, looking at Leo through the incubator window. "He's perfect." Then his journalist instincts kicked in. Later, in the small grey family room, he told me everything. "I talked to Dad last night," he said, voice low and tight. "Lauren, it's worse than you think. Rebecca told him you were suffering from postpartum psychosis. She said the doctors were worried about your mental stability, that you were unstable, maybe even a danger to Leo. She used your depression after the miscarriages as proof. She convinced him staying away was protecting you." I couldn't breathe. The air vanished from my lungs. The silence, the cold responses, it wasn't neglect. It was a lie, a calculated, malicious lie. Rebecca had painted me as hysterical to protect the family's image. She wasn't just cruel, she was strategic. A narcissistic gatekeeper who controlled everyone by controlling information. She isolated me not because she hated me, but because she needed to keep power. And for the first time, I saw it all clearly. "Set up a call," I told Ethan. "A video call, I want them all there." That evening, in a small beige room outside the NICU, Ethan opened his laptop and connected the call. My heart was steady. The broken, sobbing woman I'd been was gone. On the screen appeared their faces, my father, Brenda, Rebecca, crowded in Aunt Sharon's hospital room. "Lauren," my father began, his voice trembling. "Ethan told us, we had no idea." "Look at him," I said, picking up the laptop and turning it toward Leo's incubator. "This is your grandson. He's 5 weeks old. He's fought for his life alone. And you believed I was crazy because it was easier than calling me." My father's face collapsed into his hands. Brenda wept. And then Rebecca's voice cut through, cold and sharp. "You're being hysterical," she said. "We were following the doctor's orders. You were unstable." I turned the camera back to my face. "Doctor's orders, or your orders, you never came here, you never called." Her mask cracked. "I was protecting this family," she snapped. "Protecting your father from your emotional breakdowns. Someone had to manage the situation." "Manage?" I laughed bitterly. "Is that what you were doing at the gala? Smiling for cameras while my son was on a ventilator? Tell me, Rebecca, how did that applause feel?" The room on screen went silent. My father looked at her, truly seeing her for the first time. Her face turned pale, eyes wide with rage. And in that silence I felt peace for the first time in weeks. I ended the call. The next morning my father and Brenda were waiting outside the NICU. They looked shattered. "We came to meet our grandson," my father said softly. There were no excuses, only guilt. I led them to the sink. They scrubbed their arms like Ethan had, then stood over Leo's incubator, tears in their eyes. "He's beautiful," Brenda whispered. It wasn't forgiveness, but it was a beginning. "Our relationship will be built on truth," I told them later. "Not on image or not at all." My father only nodded. After 10 long, grueling weeks, Leo came home. He was still tiny, barely 5 pounds, but he was a fighter. A week later, our intercom buzzed. "Rebecca." "Lauren, darling, buzz me in," her voice crackled. "I have a little something for Leo's trust fund." I looked at Ryan, then at my sleeping son, and pressed the button. "We don't need a donation, Rebecca." "Excuse me," she snapped. "I'm your aunt, I'm family, let me in." My voice was steady. "No, Rebecca, you're a relation, my family is inside this house, you are not welcome here." I disconnected the call. She buzzed again and again, then left. Months later, when Leo turned 1, our apartment was filled with laughter. My brother Ethan held him high, Aunt Sharon, recovered and smiling, told stories. The NICU moms, my real sisters, were there with their miracle Barbies. My father and Brenda sat quietly on the floor, helping Leo unwrap gifts. It was messy, loud, imperfect, and it was everything my old life was. That night I realized something profound. Family isn't an obligation. It's not a bloodline or a legacy. It's love, respect, and presence. Walking away from a toxic blood relation isn't failure, it's freedom. It's choosing peace over pain. Because sometimes the family you build from truth is far stronger than the one you're born into.